Okay, what's up? I'm Jeff Harry, and we're here at the Cheap, Janky, and Juicy podcast. Jeff Harry, rediscover your play. Who else do we have here? Damien.
I am Damian Taylor, and I am from Prometheus Digital, where I do all sorts of craziness, but mostly just janky stuff. In the meantime, we have my good friend here, the one and only, the one who out juicies all of us. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Virginia Dwan. Well, I am pretty juicy. I'm Virginia Dwan, also known as Mandarin Mama, and I'm the entertainment editor for Mochi Magazine, as well as a freelance writer, and the founder of Brazen Asian, an intimate series for Asian Pacific Islander, Desi American creatives. And we were supposed to, I think, leave it up to the audience to see who's cheap, janky, and juicy. So I'm not necessarily the juiciest. I just am the juiciest today.
Ooh, there we go. Maybe it's a rotating title.
Oh, yeah. Why do we have to think in superlatives, I suppose?
That is true. I also think whenever you say also known as Mandarin Mama, I feel like that's your superhero name.
Right?
Mandarin Mama. She's arrived.
Yeah, I just think of oranges.
Those are good too.
So I will say, and this doesn't have to be the topic, but I am fascinated about this as I just went to my friend's Zoom meeting where I was like, I could you tell me more about World Wrestling? You know, the stuff I used to watch when I was a child. And he came out with a 7-page PowerPoint presentation.
Oh shit!
That gave
like
me
ready?
The history of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, just like a whole other world. But the only reason I bring that up is because World Wrestling Federation is what taught me my racism that I learned so early in my life. My question to y'all is, what taught your racism when you were a kid?
What, like my parents?
Right? My grandparents were equal opportunity racists.
America? I feel like life just teaches you racism.
Well, it's true, but there's certain ones that are just so blatant. Like I remember watching Dukes of Hazzard, and I love that show.
Me too.
I loved it. I had no idea what that flag was, but I was like, I love these guys. They fight against injustice and the cops.
Right? I forgot about that. Yeah, I love that show. I had the General Lee. I was driving the truck. Then I had like the car. My brother and I were like, we should jump in through the windows like the Dukes.
Exactly. We should weld these doors shut. What I didn't understand was they always were getting chased by the police, but didn't the police know where they lived? Couldn't they just go back to their house and just wait for them?
It was like a small town. There was like 5 people that lived there. Like, come on.
But if you think about it, and this is kind of embarrassing, but my friend Lauren and I, when we were in Nashville, found the Dukes of Hazzard Museum. It was right next to our house or our hotel. So we were like, well, we got to go. And of course it was free, right? And there were like, you know, there were Trump flags and Confederate flags and all that there. And it was called Cooter's Place because that was a place in the show. There's a place called Cooter's
I know.
And there was
I'm just gonna say for Black people, Cooter means something totally different than that.
Yes, right.
I think that's for everybody, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that Cooter is something different.
No, but there was Daisy's area, and you know, and they had all of like the Hot Wheels and the racetracks, like everything you could think of. The car was there, the police car was there.
The actual car or the
actual car. But the
nice.
museum was like maybe 2 rooms. So it was like somebody's house and then like a gift shop. But the only reason I bring it up is as I was walking through it, I was like, oh, I get the South. Like, I completely understand the South. Like, if you think of Dukes of Hazzard, they hate government because government's corrupt, boss hog. They hate, you know, authority. That's why they would fight against, like, the police or, again, you know, and they are the rebels that are saving Daisy and saving America on a regular basis because, like, that's what rebels do. And I was like, oh.
But you know what? Like, the irony in all of that is even in doing that, they were a good reflection of America because they break the law all the time and nothing happened to them.
Nothing happens.
They just go back home.
Just two white dudes just sliding in, leaping off of stuff, being extremely dangerous, causing other people to get injured. No
property damage.
No, property damage all the time. Property damage, driving,
blowing stuff up, jumping through trucks,
and then no consequences. No consequences.
No,
but they had such great hair.
Oh, you always had the hair flip and then jump into the
always had the hair flip.
Yeah.
You just were like, well, they have such great hair that they shouldn't get any consequences anyway.
The thing is, I still don't know who was Luke and who was Bo.
It didn't matter.
Neither do I. I don't really know.
Yeah,
but
neither.
I was a big fan of the blonde one. Oh man.
Oh, the dad from Smallville.
Yes, the dad
just
from
a
Smallville.
good old buzz.
Oh, and then the song, yeah.
Yeah, what a great song.
No wrong.
Speaking of country music, did you know, my mind was blown this week. There is like this movement in country music with like Black people trying to take country music back.
What?
Isn't that Darius from Hootie? Isn't he one of the like longest standing country people?
He's one of them, but no. It's like even bigger than that. Like there's actually even a show called Color Me Country. It's a podcast.
Really?
This woman, Reese something. I heard her on NPR and I was like, really? Well, let me check it out. She's a country artist too. And then she's like, oh yeah, there's this dude, Willie Jones. You got to listen to him. He mixes country and like hip hop and stuff. And at first it sounded kind of weird, but then when I put it together, I'm like, it's right.
Really? Is it like Lil Nas X? Because Lil Nas X has some good shit.
Yeah. When he
well, I'm not even talking about Old Town Road. I'm talking about his song Rodeo. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to Lil Nas X's Rodeo. It is so foully, disgustingly
when
good.
You say like take country back, I always understood it as like country came from blues, but
which is Black music.
A lot of Black people singing country music like back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
No. So even like if you think of really like before blues, even country music, like banjo kind of Dixie music.
Oh, banjo Dixie, yeah, right.
That was actually even like an African thing because the banjos were made with gourds, and they started to, in later on when they were doing minstrel shows, they would do it to make fun of Black people. So they would take banjos and like sing the music, and as a result, Black people didn't want to be associated with it, so they stopped performing that kind of music, and it became something that white people did hugely to mock and make fun of Black people, and then it became like a thing for them.
Wow, our show is actually educational today. This is
fascinating. I did not know this.
Yeah,
we don't sound very janky.
Well, I will say this, and I just said this yesterday, is like many people of color say that Clubhouse is so successful because they were the ones that showed up, right? It was predominantly people of color, predominantly Black people that were like created this really dope app or made this app actually relevant. And then all of a sudden it's now getting gentrified. And then the same thing happened to Twitter, where during the daytime, at least in many places, white people are hanging out at Clubhouse, dominating it. And then as it gets to night, many of those white people leave. And it becomes like Black Twitter, but like Black Clubhouse and like people of color Clubhouse.
That's so interesting. Well, no, they courted Black people. They purposely courted Black people because there weren't people on it. It was just, a bunch of white folks. And then they purposely asked for like hip hop artists and and Black comedians to go on Clubhouse. So when my friends were all talking about Clubhouse, it was all my Black friends from the blogging world talking about Clubhouse.
Yeah, that's how I knew about it.
I thought it was a Black people's app. Like I didn't realize that if you weren't Black, you could go on it. So I thought it was like Black Planet, or like I thought it was like a for us by us type of thing, if that makes sense, Yeah. And so then people kept asking for invites, and I was like, I'm not about to invade like a Black space, like I don't feel like that's cool for me to be there. So that was
you have people selling invites, dude.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
White people selling invites to something so it's like, what is this?
Yeah.
Me too,
the
because
irony of this all.
I very rarely see white people on Clubhouse because I have so curated my like hallway to not ever see white people. Like I have, like my hallway is pretty much all Asian or all Black.
I will say, if you think about even just, you know, the idea of gentrification, right? So at one point, people of color lived in the suburbs because no one wanted to live in the suburbs. Then white people moved to the suburbs, you know, and then basically took it over. And then if any people of color moved to the suburbs, they were like, ew, we got to get out of the suburb. It's becoming too Black. And then now there's gentrification, or has been until I guess the pandemic. There was gentrification into the city, because then all of a sudden it was really cool to be in the city, you know, and be like, all right, Harlem, you know, used to be a horrible place, and now Harlem, like, and parts of Brooklyn are like the
You can't even get in there. Yeah.
You can't, you kicked everyone out. You know, I used to live in a place in Brooklyn called Dark Slope, which was
That sounds
actually
ominous.
it was Park Slope, but it was Fourth Ave. It was 9th Street, 4th Avenue. But anything below 9th Street, 4th Avenue was black and brown.
Oh.
And it was called Dark Slope because it was
Wow.
like, that's where the dark people live.
Oh
Now
my
you go
God.
back there and you can't find dark people anywhere. You can't find anyone of color there unless they're working. Funny, like you know, like white people will migrate to wherever is cool, destroy it, and then come to another place, destroy it, and they just keep doing it each and every time.
Well, it usually starts when it's cheap, and you get like artists like, I can't afford here, I'll move in with the poor people, and then
the warehouse.
Let us just take a moment just to hate white people in our hearts.
You know, I would love to do that, but admittedly, if it weren't for some of them, I literally would not exist.
True.
That's true.
My children wouldn't exist.
Yeah, like I did a genetic test to prove how little white I was, and it did the opposite.
Yeah, that's true. Same thing with me. My mom found out that her mom's dad was a GI.
Oh.
And then she tried to get in touch with him, and they like at one point didn't want to talk. I think now they do want to talk because now they've connected the lineage. But yeah.
Wow.
Well, wow. I mean, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? Wow.
Okay, changing topics. I'm feeling sad because I feel like we need a good meme. Like I feel like the era of the meme is no longer. Like I haven't seen a great like, oh my God.
Oh, you're not in enough fandoms, because I feel like fandom memes are really funny.
Yeah, but those are so specific. Like I'm thinking like the big overall universal meme that like everyone is like, your mom is sharing it now. Like she emailed it to you, kind of like the remember those days where it's like the meme would just like take over the world, and you're like, oh my God, it was chocolate rain or whatever it was. And
oh,
chocolate rain.
Oh my God, chocolate rain.
I met him once. Did I tell you guys this story before?
Oh, what is he like?
I thought he was one of the Jacksons when I first met him. It was at like this startup company I was working at, and he was the guest, and we were doing like this new YouTube series. It was the first time anyone was really doing YouTube filmed, scripted kind of series stuff. And he was at the premiere, and I was like, is that one of the Jacksons? He looks like a Jackson. And someone's like, no, that's Tayson Day. I was like, what? It's Chocolate Rain? I lost my shit. No, it was just like, Chocolate Rain is here. I'll have to find it. I have a picture with him. I was like, I'm with Chocolate Rain.
What, is his voice that deep?
It totally is. It really is. But like, yeah, that was one of those moments where like the meme in real life came together. It was so awesome.
Oh, that's nice. All right. Let's I feel like we got too serious for our show, and our show is not about that. Our show is not about education. I blame Damien because he talked about like country music taking it back from white people.
Sorry.
Like stop, like that's not for this podcast. Okay, we don't need to be smart here. So if you had to choose,
we're
right,
janky.
right. I'm blatantly stealing this from the BTS fandom. Would you? So we're going to do this for each of us. All right. So we're going to choose whether we want 5 of the other person or them at 5 years old. So would you want 5 of me now or like me at 5 years old? So
What?
so you like the would you rather game. So like the balance game. So
No, I know. So I would get 5 of you at this age,
yes.
or 5 of you.
No, or one of me at
Or
5
one of
years
you.
old. Like which would you rather hang out with?
Oh,
5 of me in all my low keyness, or one 5-year-old me.
Oh, this is someone thought about this. This is a mean game. You
Yeah,
got to think about it.
I'll go. I'd have 5 of you now, man.
Really?
Like, yeah, dude, because it would be freaking hilarious. I wouldn't hang out with you all the time. Trust me. I mean, I'm like the Virginias. You want to go out with the Virginias? Yeah, let's go out with the Virginias. But after that, we need like 2 weeks off before we hang out with the Virginias again. But a party with the Virginias with 5 of you? Oh my goodness, just roasting people when we can actually go out again would be freaking hilarious.
I feel like I roast people in person.
Yeah, but like you're like part of the peanut gallery where I could always find you and be like, hey, you want to talk shit? Let's talk shit together. All right, let's talk some shit. So if I couldn't find you, I could find one of your other 4 duplicates that is just also hating on the world.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if I like 5-year-olds enough.
Yeah,
like
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, I think I'd pick both of you like now, 5 of you, and then what I'd want to do is get like those 10 people in a room together, and then I'd sit back and just watch what happens and listen to the conversation.
Like, do you think I actually really would just choose 5 of everybody? So if we just had 15 of us in a room, like what sort of chaos would happen?
We would have electricity and power for the world. Like there's just way too much energy there. Energy problem solved.
No, we would all probably break up into pods of 3. So we'd all be like in our little, because I wouldn't want to hang out with me. I'd be like, oh,
like
I already know what Jeff's gonna say.
Right? And I could say it better. Like I know what this Virginia is gonna say,
can
and
you hear
I'm
the
funnier.
kid in the background yelling penis? I'm sorry.
I mean, on brand.
I'm funnier. I'm funny. I love it. I'm funny. I'm funnier than that, Virginia.
I was in the middle of a call yesterday for business, and I had a friend who was helping me pull some data for a report, and I was like, "Yeah, can you check that out for me?" And like, I was coming from the park with him, and then he's like, "Check what out? My penis?" I was like, "Where did that come from?"
Oh my God. You guys, my daughter is hilarious. Like she's really, really like my oldest son tries to be funny and thinks he's funny, but he's just like dorky funny.
Yeah, he's got that dorky vibe to him.
He's like, "Hey, yo, it's your boy. It's your boy." And I'm like, really? Like, oh no, don't do that. But then my daughter.
No, do that. Own your dorkiness. Own
right? All the way.
Embrace it all the way.
He's like, "I'm big brain so-and-so. I'm your boy so-and-so." And I'm like, you can't just call you. He's like, "I'm the coolest." I was like, no, that's not how coolness works. You can't just say it.
But that's how dorkiness works.
Cool
that's how dorkiness works.
Like, he's such a dork. And I love him for it. But my daughter is funny. Like yesterday she saw my friend's name. And my friend also has the same like maiden name as me. So it's also a Dawn. And she's like, "Hey, it's like your friend is the perfect combination of you and me because she has my name and she has your name too." She's like, "Oh, tell it." My daughter's 9. "Tell your friend I've adopted her, that she's now my baby and she can't do anything about it." And then she stopped and she's like, and then she said, what did she say? She said something like, "Look at my daughter. I'm so proud. She's grown up so well." just like stupid shit. And she kept going. And I was just like, she grows up so fast.
Oh, look at her.
Oh, she has like the appropriate amount of sarcasm in there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
and you know what?
At 9 too?
Yeah.
She's like able to play with it. That's dope.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not even from me. It's because she watches really snarky TikToks.
Oh.
And so she steals people's bits. Like she practices them. You know how like comedians
Yeah,
practice
that's what I would
like
do.
those
Yep.
beats.
Yep.
So like that's what she does. She takes like really successful, like she takes like TikToks and YouTube people and like she copies their beats. She'll copy the whole routine and copy
Should
the
copy
beat,
the
copy the
cadence.
yeah,
Nice.
everything. And I was like, and it took me a while to catch on. And finally I was like, you didn't make these up, right? She's like, oh no, I stole this. Like, well, she's like, no, I'm watching someone. And I was like, okay. But like the fact that I was just really proud.
That's like studying her craft.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this girl's funny. How did you start building your craft? When did you start like did you always like study writing or or like comedy or like the stuff that you're good at, or is it just something that you kind of picked up later?
I think I picked up my comedy because my last name was Harry, and every bully at the beginning of
Aw.
every year would be like, if your name was Richard,
Oh no.
your name would be Harry Dick. And then that was my nickname from like second grade throughout
Oh.
high school, where I would literally walk down the hallway and people would be like, Harry Dick, Harry Dick, Harry Dick. Why is your dick so hairy, Harry? Like that was the joke. So I had to get like really good at just not internalizing that and then just using that humor back at them. So and then I would watch a lot. I started watching a lot of like Steve Martin and like even like old Cosby when he was like 1950s, 60s.
Yes. You
And
do
Eddie
remind
Murphy.
me of Steve Martin. You do
Yeah,
remind me of
yeah,
Steve
I could
Martin.
totally see
Like
that.
I loved Steve Martin. I loved watching Delirious. I watched that over and over and over again. I like memorized that routine. Yeah. So I could like after a while pick up on the cadence and know when the joke was like there, right?
Mm.
And also just because when you hang out with so many other dudes, like everyone's like roasting each other all the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you just get good. I don't know.
Yeah.
What about you, Damien?
I mean, you're acting like I have talent and I'm a comedian.
You are. You're very funny.
I have no sense of humor. I'm not funny at all. It's accidental, totally accidental. It's usually because I fucked up something or I tripped or I'm being mean and it didn't come across right.
But this is what we were talking about earlier. The reason why we hang out or get along is we all lack a certain level of shame. We're shameless at we just don't care. And comedians are like that. Like people that are funny are like that. While everyone else is like trying to pretend to be perfect, we're like, fuck that shit. That's stupid. That's what I love about comedians. It's just like, I don't want to fucking live in that world. That world is a bunch of bullshit.
Dude, I'm totally usually just mean. And I was like, oh no, and tried to back it up. And it's like, now then it just ended up being funny because I'm like, oh no, did I say that? That came out right now. And I'm talking to myself and people are like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude?
I would never characterize you as mean. Like,
that's because I like you.
I wouldn't give, you don't give off.
Thank you, Damien.
I'm not intentionally mean usually.
Okay. Yeah, like I don't feel like any of us are mean to other people's faces. Like we might be mean internally. I mean,
I've been mean to some people's faces, but
yeah. Like I wouldn't say that I try not to be a dick in public because I want people to like me and I want to sell things. I mean, I know that you say I don't care about how I look or whatever, but I don't want to come across a certain way to certain people. And I don't want to come across like mean and I don't want to come across like bigoted or whatever. But I mean, I am cruel and mean.
I agree that you don't want to come off as cruel, but you definitely don't want to come off as normal because your articles are like so extreme, dude. Well, not extreme, but extreme to normal people, right? Like you could write a whole article on masturbating or a whole article on like, we need to let go of, you need to cut down the amount of white friends you have because it's exhausting. I mean, by writing that, you are definitely guaranteeing some people are not going to like you. Because people that really want everyone to like them play it way safer than you do. You don't play it that safe.
Yeah. Okay. So it's also because I like attention. Like,
Ah,
so when I was younger, I was just really loud, and that's how I got attention. And I'm not saying I wasn't funny, but it wasn't like a big goal of mine. I just wanted people to like think I was cool, or like want to like me. I don't know even know how to explain it, but I just wanted I wanted attention.
But when I think of someone that like wants attention and is not, and then is normal or not willing to rock the boat, are like Instagram influencers, right? That like are like, I'm just gonna dress up and like do all these cool things. And guess what? Everyone else is freaking doing, and I'll wear scantily clad clothing to get attention because that everyone likes that. Everyone likes me eating cookies at this fancy Starbucks or whatever it is and flying. You don't do that. Like, you don't do that shit. You write articles that clearly make certain people hate you. you know, like
Well,
that
that's
is
still
not,
attention.
that is, I mean, you get
that's
attention,
true.
but then you're also getting a whole group that will never like you. You guarantee it by writing that article.
Yeah.
Most influencers would not do that.
Actually, though, that's not true. Like there's several ways to become an influencer, right? You could be like the cheesy Instagram version of one,
right.
but you could be like the Rush Limbaughs of the world, or people who are really
True.
polarizing, right? Like you can
True.
still get attention both ways. And when you have a perspective, then like, yeah, people are like, oh shit.
But if your goal was for people to like you, like Rush Limbaugh's goal is not for everyone to like him.
I liked him in high school because a boy I liked him.
I liked him in high school too for some reason. I don't know
Because
why.
he was funny. No, okay.
Yeah.
So here's the
That
thing.
was
though.
it. I did
He's
laugh
funny. He's funny.
Yeah.
And at the time, like keep in mind, I grew up in like Whitey McWhiteville. There's a reason we call it Danville Dan Vanilla, and it's not just because it was boring.
Ooh, Danville is racist.
Yes, racist as fuck. But so it was like republicanism was just like the thing, and the Democrats were like just crazy people. Like, oh, how could you be this liberal? And I was totally a Republican. Um, and I thought Rush Limbaugh was hilarious. And see, even then, I think what it is that I don't like being like, you're right. I don't like being like everybody else. So like if the thing in vogue was to be like Democrat, I'd be like, I used to suggest that we could get rid of the homeless problem by marching people into the ocean with cement blocks. Like that was my solution. And,
wow.
And
wow. Sounds like something I would have said.
And it,
oh my God.
I said this.
Yeah. I just can't.
I said this at 15, and I was trying to be funny, but also like not really. I don't think I tried to be funny until I met my husband, and my husband's really funny, or he was until I like sapped his will to live. But like he was really funny, and
I love that little interjection right there.
I love how you just threw that in there.
It's true though, and so he was really into like stand-up comedians, and so I started watching him more, and then I realized like, oh, actually, I want to be funny. So I think that's when I actively watched a lot of stand-up comedians or like tried to
your like Christian stage.
Oh yeah, well,
were you funny
stage.
then or no?
She was funny then.
Yeah, that's funny.
She was funny then.
I feel like you can be instinctually funny.
Then, if then you've been funny your whole life. It's not
right,
like
but like on purpose. You know what I mean? Like to actively try to get like to try lines. Like how I told you, like that's why I like meeting new people. All my old material is new, right? Yeah. Like so then I like people just think I'm fucking hilarious because I already know what lines people think are funny, right? Like
you got your solid bits. You got your solid bits that you pull out. Yeah. Your gems.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. See, I'm not funny. I just laugh at funny people.
You are funny. You are very.
But when I tried to be funny, and this is really sad, was when I discovered I wanted to get laid, and I heard that worked. So I was like, well, let me be funny then.
it works.
It's true.
Yeah, and then I ended up getting married.
Like wipe away.
And then you ended up getting married. He said he ended up getting married.
I was like, it worked too well. I was like, wow.
No, because I mean, laughter, I feel sometimes is so much better than just looks.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Because looks get boring.
Like I don't I'm totally not a fan of like the pickup artist type of material, right? Because it's at its heart, it's misogynistic and it's like um using people, right?
Yeah.
But the reason why my husband is like super attractive to me is because he's such a dick to me sometimes. And I like he totally negs me and it's so funny.
Oh, the negging,
It,
the
but
negging.
but he negs in a funny way, right? Like he's not negging, like he's being, it's like when you're talking shit with your friends, right? Like that kind of negging versus like, oh, you think you're pretty kind of negging.
Wait, how did he wait, here's my question. How did he hit on you?
Oh, he didn't. I threw myself at him, and that's been the feather in his cap since then. And then I realized my mistake, but we got married. So
Yeah, I think my wife was like, I couldn't tell if you even liked me. Yeah, she was like, sometimes you seemed like you would like me. Sometimes you just seemed like you were entertaining me.
like you were babysitting. I mean, she was younger than you.
Yeah. I think she's your age though, isn't she?
Is she? Is she 78? She's 78?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, well then she's not like what? I don't know how to respond to that. Do I say she's actually not that young, or do I say that, oh yeah, we're really young?
So where did you meet your husband, Virginia? And what was that interaction like?
He was my boss.
Man, power, using that power.
Every time we talk, I realize how much alike we are because I was Kim's boss.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Damien and I are the same people.
Y'all be like Robin from the Cradle.
Hey, my husband's 2 years older than me. All right, like he's fucking ancient.
She's calling me old is what she's saying.
Hey, he's a 76.
So ancient.
So am I.
Oh, okay, right then. Well, you're ancient. You're like 6 months older than my husband. 5 months. Yeah.
Ooh, tell us about World War II, Damien. What happened?
In those days, before we had time.
Oh my God. My children asked me once, Mommy, what was it like? And I was like, well, you know, when you were growing up. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you know, before there was color.
I totally thought that too.
Dude.
How old do you think we are?
Kids start talking to me about how old I am. I'm like, yes, I used to ride a Stegosaurus to school. Let me just tell you about that time. That's when oxygen didn't exist. It was just carbon dioxide. That's what we were in the primordial stages of the earth.
The Precambrian.
Yeah, the Precambrian stage. I love that you just busted that out. The Precambrian. I don't think I've heard that since high school, dude. What is that stage?
Mesozoic.
You know when those igneous rocks first started, you know, remember that? I was one of those igneous rocks. That's how old I am. I was around during the Narmer palette when that was discovered. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you just took us there.
Wow.
Oh, I took you to the Narmer palette. That's the only thing I remember from like high school history.
We were still living on Pangea. Wow. So we were nerds. I think that's why we're funny. My husband calls me like Frasier humor, and I get like really insulted. Right? Because Frasier
the best. I love that show.
No.
I hate Frasier.
Frasier's the worst.
Oh, I was totally all about Frasier.
Oh, I thought it was awful.
Frasier's terrible.
I hated him in Cheers. I was like, oh, why is that guy around?
I feel so judged.
I'm so sorry, Damien. I don't know if we can be friends anymore.
I loved it. And I think I liked it because nobody else did. I was like, you just don't get it then. I'm better than you.
I mean, you are better than me.
I wanted to punch Frasier all the time in Cheers. And then they were like, well, he has his own show now. I was like, oh, that's even worse. Oh, gosh.
I actually liked his wife. Or ex-wife.
Oh, yeah. She was hilarious.
She's such a bitch, dude. She was awesome.
His brother. I like
his brother.
Yeah.
His brother was funny.
Niles and Lilith were funny too.
Yeah. But and the dad was funny, but not Frasier.
No,
Frasier
you didn't have to like him, but the show was great.
Oh, I didn't.
The whole point is you weren't supposed to like him.
Oh.
Like everybody else was entertaining and he was the boring, annoying one.
Oh, so So he's like Raymond, and everybody loves Raymond, but it's just more
Oh,
highbrow, which
oh,
also a show that me and Jeff absolutely despise.
oh.
I can't with that show. I'm just like, nah, I'm out.
Like, I feel like Everybody Loves Raymond, lasting for how long it did, should have been a good reason that the Ken Jeong show should have stayed on even longer, because the Ken Jeong show is just as mediocre, except it was just an Asian person. That show is terrible. It's so bad.
Think about
Everybody Loves Raymond though. Like nobody loved it. Like why?
But think about Everybody Loves Raymond. Even in the title, they're trying to persuade you should like this guy because no one likes this guy. So it's just, I don't know anyone I've ever met that actually likes that show. Just like I've never met anyone that was like, yeah, I love Budweiser. It's the greatest beer. How is it being consumed so readily?
Oh, Budweiser's terrible. Now that we're finally going into our like namesake of the show, like Budweiser is janky.
It's
the top selling beer
because it's cheap.
Yep.
But it's
nobody's
not
like,
juicy.
no one aspires to Budweiser, right? It's like, I'm gonna get that Bud. Well, maybe they are, but they're on the Dukes of Hazzard. Like,
although they do have good advertising.
Oh yeah, they phenomenal advertising. The Bud Bowl. I used to love the Bud Bowl.
Yeah, or the Budweiser.
That's true.
Right. So. Yeah.
That was Budweiser.
I forgot about that one. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, dude.
And they're the Clydesdale people, right? They're the horses.
Yeah, they are.
I don't know.
It's funny, they go with humor and then they have like just these old horses from like slave times. And you're like, okay, great.
I mean, they're just like, we got to make everybody happy. So we're going to give everybody a little bit of what they want.
And aren't they made in like Colorado?
I believe so. I know Coors is.
That's Coors.
Oh, Coors.
You know what's weird?
Also terrible beer.
Unless you go to Colorado and have it.
They also have Blue Moon, and that's Coors too.
Oh, really? Blue Moon's pretty good.
Coors is actually not that bad though. Like when I was in Colorado, we were at Oktoberfest and we're like, oh, Oktoberfest is happening. We didn't know. So we're walking and they had Coors beer and they're like, you'll see it's different. And like they give you the big glass stein and it was actually better, closer to the source.
Really?
It was completely different.
I wonder if it's because if it's in a can, it's not delicious. Probably. I feel like bottled beers are always better than cans.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, because the metal like can make things taste a little tinny, especially if like beers are acidic, right? And so.
And I will say, like, ultimately, American beer is really disgusting. Like when you have other beer from other countries, you're like, oh my gosh, like I actually would drink this.
Taiwanese beer.
Yes.
Taiwanese beer, dude. Taiwanese beer. That they'll tell you how many days it's been since it's been like bottled or whatever.
What?
Yeah. They'll be like, oh, this was bottled after X, whatever, and it's like, oh, it's so good. Especially with like in tiny little glass cups with like a bunch of like Taiwanese like small eats. Oh, so good. Like
pretty much beer from anywhere except from here.
About Taiwan.
I just, you know what I miss? I miss. I think that's why I like hanging out with you guys. Is I just miss talking shit, like with and the shit talking gets better when the more you drink, right?
That is.
Oh yeah.
Right, and then the more food you consume, it has to be like salty.
And I get way funnier when I'm liquored up.
Yeah.
So I don't know that is another thing. We do need to take Cheap, Janky, and Juicy to a night level sometime.
Like
I thought you were going to say morning drinking.
I mean, yes.
Dude,
yes, that's what he means.
I would be down for that, but I know you both have children, so like,
Here's the thing.
I'm always down for a little morning drinking.
I don't necessarily think drunk people are funny though. Like, do you think comedians are funnier when they're drunk? Do you think you're funnier when you're drunk? Because I don't actually think I'm funnier when I'm drunk. I think I'm even less inhibited, but I'm not funny.
No, drunk, not so much so. I'm talking about a little buzz though.
Yeah, buzz?
So like that thing I wouldn't have said, I'm like, it's coming out now, I'm gonna say that.
It's like when I've played pool. I'm not that good at pool, but when I play pool and I'm a little buzzed, there's a certain level of focus and I get really good. But you're only good for just a certain amount of time and then it falls off completely and then you're horrible. And that's that's where we're trying to get to, like that.
Yeah.
What is it? You know, in movies, the sun is perfect.
The golden hour. The golden
golden
hour.
hour. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have
yeah.
like the golden minute of buzz where you are just like slinging those gems, and
That's
then
true.
all of a sudden, all of your jokes are the worst.
The problem is when I have a little bit too much alcohol, I talk about sex a lot. And
That's funny for us.
Which is
Right.
perfect for the Cheap Janky music.
but my husband usually gets dragged into it, and he does not particularly enjoy his sex life being, because if I talk about my sex life, it's like also about him sometimes, right? Like, and so
Ah, this is
I
true.
love that it's also about him sometimes.
I mean, we're an efficient household, Jeff Harry. The reason why I wrote an article about 12 tips on how to up your masturbation game is because I have ample experience. All right. Like they talk about write what you know, I write what I know.
You're like, sometimes
Anyway.
it's faster if it's just me by myself.
Not sometimes, it's always faster. Look, my husband and I have had this conversation. I was like, I don't understand why dudes want hand jobs. Like, what?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm not down with that. Like, I can do
I
this
am
on my own
terrible
much
at it.
better.
I'm so bad at it. Like, I was like, if you just want someone who's like really bad at it, sure. Like, okay. Like, I don't have a dick. Like, I don't have like however old he is amount of experience playing with this thing. Like, I'm really terrible at it. I feel like I find it boring. I don't understand the rhythm.
It can be a bit boring.
Right? Like, I'm just like, this is terrible. Like, why
That's
are
just
we
a
doing
power
this?
play. Like the hand job's just a power play. Like, I'm not gonna even touch it. It's like my son. Like, I'm not touching it. You touch it. It's a power play. Like, you touch it.
No, you need to give people context. You can't just say that. You need to.
Oh
Like,
yes, context.
please
Potty
give us-
training. My son refused to touch his own penis and was
Okay.
like, you do it. So yes.
Now you won't get arrested. Thank goodness.
Now I won't. But yes, no, it's totally a power play. Like, I'm not doing this. Now we're back to form.
Yeah, like, cause I'm just like, yo, and just like, like certain things, I'm just like, no, well, I'll deal with it. I'll take care of that.
I do it better than you anyway. Just
Right?
just go watch some TV. I'll be
Right?
done.
Like,
God.
so
Some things just more efficient if you do it yourself. That's what it is.
yes. And sometimes you don't like, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes I'm just like, you know what? Because I'm not a complete asshole. Like, I feel like if you have sex with somebody, it's not just about you getting off, right? Like, entirely, right? Like, you should care about you should care about the other person, maybe like consider their needs, what they want. Otherwise, like, I feel like it's cruel, right? Like, unless if they're into that, and then
it's a thing.
So,
right.
So my question then is the assumption that sex is always or a majority of the time better than masturbation, or no?
No, well, better in what way?
Well, I think it is. Because
I don't know. I would say that they're different. It depends on what your goal is.
What?
Yeah, it depends on the goal. I think it's the goal.
If your goal is just to get off, I'm like, okay, yeah, this is efficient. I got 5 minutes. All I need is a little Pornhub and like,
Yes.
But if it's like, I need to connect with someone, like, then like,
right.
You can't really do that on Zoom as well.
Like, what's the conversation is a way of connecting. I feel like texting is a connection. Like, I don't.
You're like, I could just do that. No, I always looked at sex as like grade A, like steak, and then masturbation was like, a burger from Wendy's.
And I think that's how they posit it, because like when you're a kid, like you could have, like when you're like, or if you're like single or whatever, like you can always have yourself, but you can't always have another person, right? But I feel like that's not necessarily true, because like so this is how you know you love someone. Like there's never always like, sex is not always great, like I think we can all admit that. Like sometimes someone's too tired, sometimes there's a child like crying, or you're just like, or you're touched out. And like, again, like that's why I feel like a lot of women are just like, yo, like we don't need to have sex. The last thing I want to do after like taking care of humans all day and being touched by them is to consider another human's feelings, right? Like I really don't care if you're having, I really don't. I don't care. And I don't want to be that person to not care about your feelings. Like I don't want to be an asshole on purpose, like, so, hence the other route is much more preferable, is all I'm saying.
I think that's the trick. Like the thing about sex that's really rewarding is the fact that, oh, we're both doing it now. Like somehow there had to be an agreement there. And like the stars aligned, and then like when it's good, you're like, it's good. But sometimes if you're by yourself, you're like, it's not even always great by yourself. You're just like, I just need to do this real quick.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll get bored in the middle. I'll be like, yeah. Well, do I still want to do this? I mean, a commitment. Like, do I need to look at more videos? Like, I mean,
right?
Maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I'm just hungry.
Maybe you need to read my article, Jeff.
You know what though? That's where things get messy. Like I hate when like multiple bodily functions are competing for your attention. You're like, I'm hungry and horny and have to pee or something like. You're like, which one do I do first? Or like, I want to go to sleep and I'm hungry and I'm horny. Like, well, maybe if I eat and then masturbate, I'll get a really good night's sleep. Or do I do like?
Sometimes I'm like, do I have to pee or am I horny? I can't really tell. Let me pee and see how I feel after.
Maslow's masturbation hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like I'm not doing all the candles and things like that.
No, you'll burn the house down. No.
Yeah, no.
So wait, why do you need candles? I mean, oh yeah, I guess.
Scented candles. Little music.
I've known people that make a day of it, like a bubble bath, and
that's like some dedication right there. I think I'm too lazy for myself to do that.
Yeah,
I'm just like, nah, I got 30 minutes, perfect. Like you can pick the perfect. You're like
30 minutes. You don't need 30 minutes.
No. This is like setting up, like get everything ready and like it's like just because I can.
Setting up, you gotta get the lights going here. I'm gonna project this on the screen. Not to mention, I gotta clear my history after, because you can't just be having it.
Oh, that's private browsing.
Yeah.
I do private browsing as well, but I still let me figure out. Which I don't think is that. I think they still track it under private browsing.
It still can, depending on the private browser you use, and there are some where it has like VPN randomization. Actually have to do that not just for porn but for other stuff too.
For testing, for work.
Expertise.
Well, no, when you're doing like SEO stuff and I want to be able to test it in multiple locations, you have to be able to like, okay, is this really geofenced? And if you're using like a VPN or like a block, whatever. So, but yeah, it's useful for knowing how to get the best porn, I guess, and not get caught. If that's your thing. But I don't know if I really care about getting caught so much as like, I don't want my son to accidentally like, hey, what's this on your computer?
Yes.
I realize sometimes I'm too much of an aficionado because I now know clips and I'm like, these are my go-to clips. Like I'm gonna go back to these clips.
Oh, no. You're not the only one.
Guaranteed to.
They work.
But also like,
and then once in a while you find a new one. You're like, let me just add that into the
yes. You have to though, because your mind gets too used to things, and then you can't but then you have to stop sometimes, because if you watch too much, like if your brain gets too used to, you're just like, oh, it's just some titties, that's cool.
Yeah, then nothing works, right? And so,
and you're just like,
anything anymore. Then it's really problematic.
And then you're like, wow, how did I get to this state? How did I get to this point where just like pussy and like titties in your face and like some dicks? You're just like,
You're like, I've seen way too much.
And then you start thinking like, well, maybe there just aren't enough in the scene, right? Like more should be better. So you just look up like orgies or like there's just me.
Too much for me. Then it's just like I can't. It's like Royal Rumble. I'm like, I can't pay attention. There's too much going on.
I just know that I don't have the competence to actually pull that off.
Is that a leg? Oh, that's not a leg. Oh my gosh, that's.
Yeah.
You know what though? Like honestly, so non sequitur funny story. when we were, before my son was born, we were doing like everything right. Got to make sure that everything's healthy and right. And so my wife's like, we're gonna go and we're gonna get checked out, and like we're gonna go and conceive and find out when the days are. And like we're being serious and like methodical about it. So I go off to this sperm bank, like, okay, yeah, we'll go and see. So I'm blah blah blah. And I think I told you guys this on LinkedIn. Like I went into the little room, you're supposed to get your cup, and they give you like this remote that's like plastic covered. So you could like pick your porn, and like they have like hand sanitizer and like alcohol to wipe stuff down, and like a leather sofa in front of like this big ass TV with like a menu of porn, right?
Wait. Did they give you channels? What do they give you?
It's like internet. Like they've subscribed to every porn, anything on the internet. And so like you can go through like channel. It's almost like it's, yeah.
No magazines. There are no magazines.
No.
Okay,
It's and so like I'm like, all right, well, this is a little weird, but then they give you like a cup, right? And I was like, I don't know if I can aim this, but let's try.
Right. Really hard.
And at first I was like, so I turn on the TV, and before anything happens, I'm like, oh wow, I can see the history of what everybody else has been checking out. I ended up spending like an hour and a half going through like, oh my God, what is this? Who likes this? Right? And I was like, and then the nurse knocked, she's like, is everything okay? And they were like, oh shit, I haven't even done
like I've just been browsing the whole time.
I was like, she probably thinks all kinds of things are messed up, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't, and like just going down the rabbit hole.
They're like, what's taking them so long? No, I mean, Damien speaks of a very important truth. Most of masturbation is just looking for what you're actually gonna go do it to. There's a lot of research involved to be like, is this what I'm into today? Maybe let me start. No, I'm actually not into that. Let me go over here, and then you got many tabs open. Then you're like,
oh, many tabs. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's because they pop up, right?
You gotta move the tabs.
Oh no, you're intentionally opening those because you want. Sometimes something starts like, oh, that's not even worth it. Nope, close that one.
You don't want to keep looking.
Now you made fun of my 30 minutes, but now you understand the 30 minutes. Like,
yeah, because then you have your masturbation hand, and then you have your clean hand. This hand never touches anything.
It's like a whole system.
It's a whole system. And you gotta make sure when you're going that you don't ever like shoot it on the screen. Because like, oh, now I gotta watch the whole computer.
See, it's a thing.
Maybe you guys should just get fleshlights or something, because I feel like
that seems like too much work. You have to clean that, don't you?
So I went to a fleshlight party at South by Southwest without realizing I was at a fleshlight party. I was just like, oh, what is this party? And I was like, because you're just hopping from party to party. And then I walked to this warehouse. I don't know if you've ever been to South by, but it's just like all over the place. And there was this warehouse, and the party was run by Fleshlight, and they had fleshlights all on the walls. All of the walls were just made of fleshlights. And it was like 7 p.m. So no one was there. So I was like, I'm gonna go. Like they don't even have free alcohol here. But yeah.
There needs to be
Speaking of
alcohol.
which, I was at
fleshlight. You have to wash that. What do you put that in the dishwasher?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you have to wash it and like no. That sounds like work. Like now you got a new dish.
But I feel like they're faster.
Are they faster?
I don't know. Like,
you have to find it. Like, where do you put it?
In your nightstand.
And it's also like they're
nightstand, really, just right there.
They're unwieldy. They're kind of huge.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like women's things are much more compact, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, speaking of going to a conference or something and having like being sponsored by a sex toy, I was at an advertising conference in Louisiana. Like it's all marketers and professional, serious people. And there happened to be a talk sponsored by Trojan. But they had special finger vibrators that you could use for like stimulating with clitoris and stuff like that. And so like everyone's in this session. I had skipped the session because I was going to go to the next one. So I'm sitting outside and I see them setting up this ridiculous tower of like vibrators and stuff like outside of the session. Like, and so you see all these marketers walking by and scoffing and rolling their eyes and like, oh, you know, like, Pasha, I'm so offended and like this is so
Really? I'd be like,
um,
give me a handful.
oh no, this is where it gets
You
funny.
guys never
Everyone was doing that, right? They're pretending. But then once the people were done setting up the thing and had the table with like the free vibrators, the session came out and the same people who were walking by scoffing were walking by and like grabbing like 4 of them. Like I saw this woman like shoving them in her suitcase. I went into the bathroom and there was like a box open and I heard someone in the bathroom like, I'm just like, dude, like people were losing their fucking minds. I was at the like when I was leaving at the airport, there was
In
some
the
people
bathroom?
in the bathroom. Like they just went straight from like grabbing the box to the bathroom to like test it out.
This is what I'm saying, man. People are nasty. They try to pretend they're normal, but most normal people are straight
nasty.
And
but
in
like
America,
it was so funny because everyone was so
sex.
like outwardly like, oh my God, that's so, oh,
Yeah.
like I literally saw people doing that. I was like, I saw that same person in the airport and they had to have their suitcase searched and there was like 6 of them in there. I'm just like, really though?
In America, because of our like, you know, Christian heritage, like we are so prude because when I'm like in other countries like Brazil,
oh well, Brazil.
Dude, it's
Brazil.
like, what is wrong with all the Americans? Why are y'all so prudish? Why are y'all pretending like you don't have sex all the time?
I mean, that's one reason why I had so many children was to outbreed the Republicans. I'm serious.
See, this is why you're funny, is because you're serious about that. You're like, no, I'm dead serious. That's the reason.
I mean, not the primary reason, but sorry, that was also
how much you want to get? You're gonna have an Alex P. Keaton. Like your oldest is gonna be.
Oh my God.
Your oldest is gonna be a Republican. Like
I totally am.
One of them is going to be, or your youngest. I can see your youngest being like hardcore Trump Jr.
There's always this one.
There's always one. Always one.
And but that's usually like, to keep you on your toes and make sure that you know it's balance in the universe.
It's tough, right? Because like I feel like we always rebel against what we're taught.
Yep.
And so like I don't want to come on so strong, you know, because like, oh, so I've had to ban several YouTubers or like Twitch streamers that my kids watch. Like, and they're really sad about it. Like they're super, like I think I banned Mr. Beast and Jelly.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Because Mr. Beast was on Clubhouse and like totally was like a dick.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah. So there was another guy who I think was Persian or had like a difficult to pronounce name and was basically Mr. Beast.
Oh, was he the prank guy? The Persian prank guy?
I don't know. And then he was like, it starts with an F. I forgot his name.
Yeah,
and then
Fazud or something like
that. And so he brought him up.
He's horrible.
There was a big Twitter thing. There's a big thing on it. And like, and I was in the room after. I was in a room that guy, the Persian dude, started, and then after, and basically, I guess the Mr. Beast had brought him on stage and then basically said, "Oh, I can't even say your name. I'm not even going to bother," and just kicked him off the stage. Dang. Right, and I was like,
"That's just ridiculous.
That's like bullshit."
Like on the one hand, is it like the worst thing someone could do? No, but do I want my kids watching some dickhead who thinks that that's funny and who thinks that like my kids
that's
are like,
I think that the bigger implication though is that how did that make that guy feel, right? Because you know why he said that.
Yeah.
And that's like,
and my kids are like, why is this a big deal? Like, why is this like, because they're like, he doesn't say bad things in his videos.
Yeah, because he's actually so quote unquote nice in his videos.
Oh.
But that's what's so interesting. He's not actually, like, you can hear the undertone of like just
and I think I had overheard my kids listening to Jelly, and he was like making the stereotypical like Middle Eastern like or whatever like voices in like Call of Duty or whatever. And I was like, no, you can't listen to this anymore. You cannot watch this. And they're like, my kids are crying. Like they're so upset because they don't understand, right? And I'm like, I'm sorry that this hurts you. And I'm sorry that mommy has to say you can't watch these people. But these people think it's okay and it's funny to make fun of people who look like us.
Yeah.
And who look different from them, who have names, who speak English differently. They're making fun of people like your grandmother, like my mother, like your ama. She doesn't speak English with a perfect accent. Like, is that okay? Is that what you want? You know? And to my kids' credit, they'll be very upset and they'll cry and they like seriously upset because they love these people. Like they love these um
but
and
it's that subtle racism, right?
yeah, and I don't
It's not the overt racism, it's the subtle racism that gets you. And then all of a sudden you start internalizing that.
Yeah.
You start hating yourself later on. You don't know
Well,
why.
I actually had that happen at the park yesterday.
Oh no, what happened?
We were at the park, and so it was us, and of course we were like the only non-white people there. Actually, there was one little Asian girl there, and all these kids are running around. And then so my son is coming through this tunnel, and there are these two little blonde kids standing in front of him, and they just stand there. And he's like, "Hey," and they said hi, and they're like, "Where did you come from?" He's like, "Just the other side of the tunnel," and I'm standing there just watching the thing, and then the two kids look at him and go, "Who does he belong to?" "Oh, he must belong to him because their skin's the same color." And like it wasn't like the words themselves weren't very mean or anything, but the way that they said it and the way that they pointed to him, and they're like, "Oh, okay," and then they just ignored him. Right. And he was kind of like just sitting there smiling like
And that matters, man. That I remember when I was 3 years old, we were looking at crayons. I don't know, we were like drawing with crayons, and then the teacher was going through some of the crayon colors and was like, "This one is black." And then one person stood up and goes, "Jeff's black." And I was looking at the crayon and I was like, "I'm not black." And I stood up and I was like, "I'm not black, I'm brown." Because I was looking at like the actual colors of it. And I was like, "Why are you calling me this?" Not realizing what all that was happening at that moment, all the layers of internalized racism happening in one sentence for a 3-year-old.
I mean, I remember the same thing. Like I still don't understand why it's black and brown people, because I'm just dark brown, right? But like I think everyone goes by like, what's the extreme of what your culture is, right? And we're gonna call you that extreme and try to like singularize everything into a category.
Yeah. Are you okay, Virginia?
I'm just very upset for Damien's kid.
Oh.
I'm like super upset about it.
It's at the end of the day though, like I don't know how much it registered for him.
Sure.
But yeah, I admit I was a little bit peeved. I was miffed by it and like disturbed because I understood the import behind it, and like I could watch all the kids running around and kind of just staring. And because he didn't get it, because like my in-laws, I don't know if you know this, Jeff, but like my in-laws are white. My wife was adopted by a white family, so like he doesn't think of it that way. Like he plays with his cousins, and so like this is just like they're just people to him. And so yeah, it bothered me because I didn't have that growing up, and so I was kind of like, oh, I want to be like, you little bastards, but like, you know, other people's kids.
Want to be like, yeah.
Because if you said anything, you would be labeled as a threatening person. They could call the cops on you. Like there's just so many layers to it, right? Like, of course you know this. And then like, but that's what just like is so upsetting.
And the thing that I guess is so frustrating is these are all small microaggressions that if you look at them in the context of just that moment, not bad. It's no big deal. It's just like a sentence, no big deal. But like you add them all up, man, and just like that shapes people's whole personalities.
Well, I mean, that's where the question comes in when people use that, say microaggression. Is it really micro though? It depends on which side of the aggression you're on, right?
Yeah.
That's just I have a fundamental problem with that term because it allows in the person who's being the aggressor to say like, well, that's not as bad as I could have been, right?
Yeah.
If you think of so much of the terminology around racism, all of it is just to make it more comfortable for white people. That's why like white fragility became a term. And I was like, what the fuck's white fragility? It was just like, oh, because we didn't want to use like, you know, white supremacy. So we're like, oh, white privilege, oh, white fragility. You know, it's like, man, we're doing a lot of work to make these people feel comfortable about their racism.
I'm so tired of it. And people of color are totally tired of it. And that's why
well, I think that's what you're seeing right now is that like people are finally getting to the point where like, I'm tired of it and I'm not going to take it. But there's also the other piece where some of these things are so deeply institutionalized that think of the Dukes of Hazzard. We never questioned it, right? There are things that you just assume is like, that's just how things are. And so you've normalized it to yourself. And then when you take a step back and you realize that like, oh, wait a minute, this isn't normal. This isn't how things should be. It changes your perspective on it. And I think you're seeing a lot of people having to take that step. And now they're starting to challenge those things that they've always assumed were normal and realizing aren't necessarily normal and can be harmful.
Yeah. I was just part of a discussion recently where they were talking about how to be an ally, right? Especially how to be a white ally. And at one point they asked, they're like, do you, you know, to certain people of color, like, do you want white allies? And some people were like, no. They were like, I just don't need that right now. And then others were like, no, actually, we really should be organizing as many people as possible to help. But it reminds me of, you know, when the Black Panthers were, you know, really big in the 70s, the 60s and 70s. And then the White Panther Party came out as like the ally. Yeah, it was like, it was called the White Panther Party. And they came out to be allies of Black Panthers. And look at your face, Virginia. So some people were like, hey, this is great. We need them. Let's use them in the front lines. And others were like, please stop. Like, I don't want that. I don't need that.
See, like, I don't know. My take on allyship is, this is kind of how I even see the whole racism thing is, racism is like you're living in an apartment building, you're in the apartment downstairs, the unit above you keeps flooding and it keeps fucking up your house. It's not really your problem, but it's causing problems for you. And you can't get inside to fix it. And they're like, do you want help? Here, I'll come and help you clean up your house. I'm like, it's not my fucking house, it's a problem. Go, I don't need your allyship. If you're gonna be an ally for me, go upstairs and get your friend to fix their tub or that leak or whatever that is, right?
I'm gonna use that analogy. That's phenomenal.
So like the allyship, there should be, technically I shouldn't even have a role in this. This is a you problem that you've made my problem because it keeps coming down into my unit.
That is, oh, I gotta make a video about that. That is dope. Oh, so genius.
And so like, I think I love allyship in the sense of you'll take ownership and talk to people and stand up, but I don't need you to say like, I'm going to come and stand and like put my fist up in the air. Like that's really great. But where it's really more beneficial for me is if you're in a boardroom, in a classroom, wherever, and you're telling someone when I'm not there and they're saying something that's off or they're doing something that's off, you're standing up and doing something. Like it needs to be happening when I'm not around, not so like I'm going to come to you and be there for you. I need you to be there when I'm not there.
Yeah. But there is also something about allyship in the sense of like, are you willing to help with changing the power dynamics that exist? As I know a lot of people now that are working with organizations that are like, yeah, you know, we really want to address diversity and equity. And then you're like, wait a minute, your organization was founded on white supremacy. Do you really think your organization wants to change the power dynamics? Or are they just telling you they want to do DEI work so that they don't have to look like they're racist?
I have to admit, I have a couple clients right now, one in particular, and this is the only time I've ever seen like a company, a group of people really truly be dedicated to where they'll make a drastic change. Like I don't think I can say the name of the company right now because we're still working with them, but like we gave them some recommendations like, this is just, we get it, you tried, this is so out of touch, it's not a good look. And they literally were like, all right, get so and so, we're going to change this, we're pulling everything, like, and they were like on the spot, like, we can't have this, we wanted to check and you were right, nope, we're not doing it, this is just it's tone deaf, it doesn't take into account blah blah blah. And they went back and they literally took a sweeping change, and we were like, damn, no one really listens. Like, usually you do that, no one listens, like, oh, this is great, and they want to sing kumbaya, right? But these folks really put their like actions into work, like they say it and then they do it. And that, I've never seen that, and it's a pretty big, well-known company.
That gives me some.
Yeah,
that's not everyone. Most people are just kind of like, yeah, we did it, and we talked about it, and we all talked, right, you're good.
Yeah, we had our 2-hour Starbucks meeting. Don't you remember that? That addressed all of the racism.
well, the tough part too is it's internal work, right? And it takes time, and people's timelines are different because people are different and their
It's not like you do
experiences
that
are
2-hour
different,
meeting and suddenly like we're all good.
right? And there's just so many powers, and like if you're spiritual, like principalities at work, right? Like there's just like strongholds of thought, like what they call it, what is it, like the hegemony of thought,
Mhm.
like
Yep.
it's hegemony for a reason, right? And it's had
Yep.
centuries to like take root and like be, and like an hour to like read
Well, and if the
about
only place that you're
bias.
dealing with it and having to figure that out is at work, and then you go back home and none of that, like all of that's out the window, and your life is completely the opposite and supporting that very thing that you're supposed to not be doing at work, like that, there's like society and daily life, and then there's work, and society and daily life don't end when you get to work, you just bring that with you.
Yeah, but that's why I think culture and art is so important. If you
Yes.
think about, so I was like super Christian when I grew up, so obviously very homophobic, but then shows like Ellen,
Mm-hmm.
or like, yeah, you can say like, yes, they were like super trite and super like, oh, how come the gay person is always suffering and has AIDS and like they're the tragic hero? How come there's the magical Negro? How come there's just like the Asian who's like human trafficking victim or whatever? But like, and it was just like really bad, that poorly done, right? But like they were very instrumental in slowly changing, like, and I feel like that's totally why the culture wars happened, right? Like the Christians are like,
Yes.
hey, this is bad. They could see it, right? They could see it physically happening. But that's why I'm so pro BTS and like K-pop, because it is just slightly turning the dial a bit, or like,
Oh, so you have to, we're doing a clubhouse next week called, like, it's looking at masculinity in media, and it touches on that, and like how allowing different versions of men from different countries is slowly starting to tweak the really uber toxic masculinity and male like stereotype that we have in Western cultures as a whole, but the US specifically. It's really, and so we start looking at like, we'll look at BTS and like, yeah, but what does that mean? Like,
Yep.
there's this whole like soft boy movement, and like people are like wearing that like as a badge, like,
Yep.
no, it doesn't mean that I'm not a dude, I'm still a guy, but this is what I like and this is how I am. And
so I was at a seminar that was all about the Hallyu wave, with the Korean culture wave, and one of the speakers actually spoke about it, and he said that his theory, his posit was that BTS was actually still playing into toxic masculinity, because the only reason why white America accepts Asian sexuality, Asian masculinity in this way is because they are emasculated, and that the whole soft boy movement is good in the sense that toxic masculinity is bad, but that the only reason why BTS is palatable is because they are effeminate, or
they're not threatening the masculine.
But I think that's
right.
that's the trick, right? And that there are boxes, right? Because then if you go the opposite direction, Black men are hyper masculine and dangerous, and for that very reason everything about them is dangerous. But if you ever look at media, do you ever see like the only other way to show the black man not being that is he's either that or he's super gay and he's like RuPaul, right? You can never have just someone in between. Like there's never just like,
because that person is a threat. When they mentioned that Idris Elba was potentially going to be the next 007, people lost their shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were like, wait a minute, this built huge black man that's also intellectual, smart, and can like probably is more sexy than most white dudes. No, we cannot have that. That is dangerous.
Yeah. And so it's interesting that again, these are the kind of conversations that I think people need to happen, but like, I don't know, it's slow, but art really does help. Like I was in a call the other day and the woman there was like, let's think about it. She's like, same-sex marriage was legalized 15 years ago, technically on TV. It just took the world a while to catch up, but it always starts with art first. People see it, and it's true. I mean, psychology has proven this. It's so many times where exposure breeds acceptance, right?
Yeah.
And so the more frequently you're exposed to something, the more likely you are to not question it anymore, and the more comfortable you become with it, which is why people are scared of things that they don't know, because when they don't want to accept it, the best way not to is make sure it never comes near you.
Yeah.
Right.
One thing that I'm confused about though, then what was the obsession with like Bruce Lee in the 70s, and why did that just still permeate to this day, where white America is still kind of obsessed with the guy in a certain way?
He's exoticized. Yeah, like you're allowed to have that one exoticized person, right? Like that's the thing. Like he was Chinese. Oh, he did this ancient art. Oh, and like you can kind of toss it up to like him being mysticized, and then
but they didn't see him as a threat though.
No, because he's the exception that proves the rule, right?
Yeah.
And then also he was a threat. That's why they didn't put him in Hollywood. That's why he had to go back to Hong Kong.
That's why it was Kato. Right.
That's why like David Carradine is the like kung fu story guy. Not
that was so many words.
So embarrassing.
Well, I thought he was multiracial. That's why he was cast. I thought he was actually part Chinese. So we love my parents loved that show because they had like even chinkified him.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't know until like.
But no, they totally played into that though. They let people assume that, and they kind of just ran with the rumor so that people were like, "See, it's fine."
Because if you think of any other Asian person in movies back in the 80s, like the most prominent people I think of is Roundhouse from Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom.
Right. What was Karate Kid in the 80s?
Karate Kid was.
Yeah, that was in the 80s.
But the only Asian guy in there
when they went to Japan, but he was a villain.
Well, Pat Morita is Asian.
Well, Pat Morita's Asian.
He's the sidekick, right?
Right.
He's that guru. He's almost like, instead of the black, guru, like the wise used to be a slave. Now you have like Pat Morita, the master. But what was because I freaking love Karate Kid so much, there's this one Hawaiian guy that's in there, and he's the only one that actually knows karate. And he's the best person in like the tournament, right? Because he was teaching everybody all the moves. And then they asked him to make up the crane kick that Ralph Macchio did. And he was like, no one would ever do this. Like, this is stupid. And he's like, can you just do it? So like, he's the one that actually does the crane kick, like in the, on the beach and everything like that. And then he showed Ralph Macchio how to do it, even though it's not karate at all.
It's not any sort of martial art. Like
no
taking time to do that pose, someone would have kicked your ass.
Exactly. He's like, this is the dumbest thing, but this is what they want, so I'm just gonna do it.
Oh, see, background. The story you didn't know.
I love white people. Folks, this was not quite janky or cheap.
This was interesting.
It was juicy.
But it was juicy though. Juicy. We don't always have to do all three. Don't force us into boxes, okay, folks? Don't force us into boxes.
We went from sex to racism, really.
No, but we started with racism because you're the one who talked about WWE.
Oh yes.
It's all you, Jeff.
Now I've forgotten.
It's your fault. Your fault. So let's tell folks where we can find us.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
All right, I'm Mandarin Mama, and you can find me at the Mandarin Mama on Twitter and Instagram, and Mandarin Mama on YouTube.
I'm Damian Taylor again. You can find me at Prometheus Digital pretty much on Facebook and Instagram or on LinkedIn. And you can find me at Digital Compendium on both Facebook and Instagram as well.
And this is Jeff Harry. You can find me at rediscoveryourplay.com, or you can see me making candy bank videos at Jeff Harry. Jeff Harry Plays Candy Bank.
All right, folks. We'll see you guys next time.
Next time. Bye.